The Amish are masters when it comes to stockpiling food, and their centuries-old wisdom could completely change the way you think about your pantry. From humble salt to surprising spices that actually get better with age, these 20 foods are built to last, outlasting your smartphone, your car, and maybe even your mortgage. Let's dive into some of their secrets, starting with a food that's practically immortal: honey. Honey, the eternal survivor of the food world. Archaeologists digging up ancient Egyptian tombs once stumbled upon something really extraordinary: jars of honey still good to eat after thousands of years. All that Best By dates on our jars of honey now seem a bit laughable, don't they? So, what's so magical about honey? Well, bacteria require water to survive, but honey contains very little water and so much sugar that bacteria can't live there. It is like trying to set up a camp in the desert. No way. Besides, honey has natural preservatives, so nothing messes with it. The Amish realized the superpowers of honey a few generations ago. In their communities, honey isn't used to sweeten just tea. They use it all kinds of ways: stir into bread dough, slather onto sore throats, even mix into homemade lotions. Pretty smart stuff, huh? Meanwhile, as we are darting to the grocery store to fetch some one thing or another, they turn to honey as the fix to almost everything, except there's a weakness. Honey hates heat, and if left in a warm place, becomes goo. Keep it cool and dark, though, and it'll stay perfect far longer than that forgotten gift card in your drawer. Here's a fun tip. If your honey becomes grainy or crystallized, don't throw it out. Just place the jar in warm water, and it'll return to its smooth, golden state, like a spa day for your honey. Fruit, nature's candy, dried by the sun. Forget what you know about raisins from the store. For centuries, the Amish have been transforming fresh fruit into a kind of candy from nature. And that's a long time before food dehydrators even became a thing. And the good news is they don't need added sugar or preservatives. Envision a great apple crop or peach or berry crop that'll spoil in a week. Instead of letting them rot in the fridge, the Amish lay them out on wooden racks and let the sun do all the work. The result? Intensified flavors that'll make your taste buds dance. And most of the nutrients are preserved too, like a natural vitamin pill that tastes amazing. The Amish tend to begin with apples, making good chewy rings, but apricots, berries, pears, and plums are all in play. Now, the trick to drying fruit properly is getting it to a totally dehydrated point. Imagine a leather wallet dry, not just slightly wrinkled. Any remaining moisture can attract that nasty old mold. Once dried, store it in a cool, dark spot, a basement, not a sunny windowsill, and it'll last longer than those limited edition snacks cluttering up your cupboard. Dried fruit needs no fancy preservatives, an airtight container, and you're good to go for months. That is, if you can resist eating it all at once. Salt, the ultimate food preserver. Now let's talk about one of the most well-known preservation superheroes, salt. Salt has been used for food preservation for thousands of years, and not even the Amish were an exception to this rule. Salt does more than add flavor. It acts as the bodyguard of your food, ensuring bacteria cannot nest in your meat and vegetables. You'll use half a cup of salt for every pound of meat. Too little, and you're inviting trouble. Too much, and your meal will be a salty disaster. The Amish have the perfect balance down to an art, preserving everything from pork to green beans. And the best part? Salt doesn't expire, doesn't need special storage, and it's pretty inexpensive. Just keep it dry, away from moisture, and you're all set. The Amish will often store salt in wooden or ceramic containers. This helps maintain its power. Beans, the long-term pantry hero. When talking about longevity, beans are the powerhouse in the Amish pantry. Dried beans can last for decades if stored properly. There have been cases where dried beans were found in Amish homesteads that were still good after 50 years. Yes, 50 years. Beans are very high in protein and have been a staple food in many cultures for centuries. The Amish store them in containers with no air and in cool, dry places. This gives them an incredible shelf life. Once beans are soaked overnight, they turn from hard rocks into plump, tender morsels that are excellent for soups, stews, and salads. They're like the ultimate pantry makeover food. Rice, the pantry's ultimate survivor. Rice is not something that immediately comes to mind when you think of long-term food, but the Amish stockpile it as if they're preparing for a never-ending buffet. Properly stored white rice can last up to 25 years. Yes, you read that right. It's practically invincible. The key is simple storage. Sealed containers in a cool, dry spot, and moisture is the enemy. Rice doesn't need fancy vacuum-sealed bags or expensive storage systems. It is the low-maintenance, reliable friend of the pantry. The Amish use it in everything, from soups to side dishes to main meals. Rice's versatility makes it a pantry MVP, ready to bulk up any meal without stealing the spotlight. Sugar, the immortal sweetener. Sugar, too, is a pantry powerhouse. The Amish have known for centuries that sugar can last indefinitely, as long as it's kept dry. While we're all obsessed with fancy sweeteners, sugar is the one that holds up over time. In fact, it's so valuable that it was once used as currency. The Amish use sugar for preserving fruits, and the results are delicious. Sugary peaches, strawberries, and more, kept fresh for months. Store sugar in an airtight container, keep it cool and dry, and you've got a forever sweet pantry staple. Wheat berries, ancient and versatile. Wheat berries are another pantry treasure. These little kernels can stay fresh for decades when stored properly, and they're packed with nutrients. The Amish grind their wheat berries into flour as needed, ensuring that their bread is packed with nutrients far superior to store-bought, processed loaves. To store wheat berries fresh, store them in airtight containers in a cool, dry place. If you do this, your great-grandkids could still be using the same batch of wheat berries to make bread. Apple cider vinegar, a jack-of-all-trades preservation superstar. Apple cider vinegar is another pantry staple in Amish kitchens. But it's not just a preservation superhero. It helps preserve food and has countless uses, from pickling vegetables to cleaning counters. The Amish don't use just any ACV. They make their own the old-fashioned way, complete with the mother, that cloudy substance floating in the bottle. This natural bacteria is part of what makes ACV so effective. It doesn't need refrigeration and lasts for years, making it an excellent staple in any long-term pantry. Tomatoes, sunshine in a jar. During summer when tomatoes are fresh and abundant, Amish will prepare them and fill mason jars to store all year. They use this as an essential ingredient in preparing all kinds of soup, sauces, and stews. It happens that canning increases the nutrition of the tomato, particularly its lycopene, since this antioxidant increases as tomatoes become more concentrated. Properly stored, canned tomatoes will last for 3 to 5 years, though they are usually consumed long before that. Cornmeal, the multi-purpose pantry staple. Cornmeal is another Amish pantry staple that lasts nearly indefinitely when kept in airtight containers. They use it to make everything from cornbread to fried chicken coatings to pizza crusts and much more. It's a real pantry MVP, providing simple, hearty nutrition, preserving meat without refrigeration. The last of the techniques the Amish mastered is the preservation of meat without electricity. Through pressure canning, they are able to store beef, pork, and chicken for 3 to 5 years. It's a slow process that requires fresh meat and perfect sealing, but once it's done, the result is tender, fall-apart protein that can be used in soups, stews, and more. This method has kept their meat fresh for months, even years, without the need for refrigeration. Powdered milk, the emergency dairy solution. Powdered milk is the final major component of an Amish pantry, lasting for up to 20 years. It's kind of like having a cow in your cupboard, but without the mooing. Powdered milk doesn't spoil readily and is thus ideal for emergency dairy situations where fresh milk cannot be obtained. The Amish have truly mastered the art of food preservation, using techniques passed down through generations. These timeless practices can ensure that you're ready for anything, from a snowstorm to a sudden shortage. So, maybe it's time to reconsider the expiration dates on your pantry staples and start thinking like the Amish.